Good morning everybody. We are going to start making some beautiful flowers, bees and butterflies. I'm just going to show you a really simple way of making these without using your grinder. So good for beginners. I'm choosing stained glass tiles. I love working with stained glass. It's flat both sides, opposed to you can use vitreous. We've got these are gold thread tiles. I just find the ones with the ridges on the back can sometimes catch the cutter, can crumble, especially vitreous. They're quite a sandy tile. But yeah, so these are fine, but this is my preference. So what we'll do, a simple shape we're going to do is just by taking two opposite corners off. Okay, you can do that much there. You can make one slightly narrower. This will give you a tinier or a thinner petal. Right, so cut the point off, the other side, and save these little ones too, because we can just soften those little points off and make some nice little petite little flowers with these. So we'll get to those later. So holding your cutters at an angle, this is just a technique to practice because it's just really handy if you don't have a grinder. All I'm doing is I'm just softening that point off ever so slightly. So it's just a matter of just biting it. So that gives it a nice rounded shape. We'll do the other side. So this would make a nice little sunflower petal because it's quite narrow. Same thing, just biting that point off and then just softening it ever so slightly. And that would be one petal, and here we can have a slightly wider one, so just don't go in so far with your cutters. So I'm just taking a little bit off. Same thing again, cutters on an angle. It's the only time I hold them on an angle if I'm shaping. So it's just practice. Hear that biting. And that's your two, Got a little pile done here. So I'm sort of finding 5 petals per flower. So let's just start with our first. So I'm just using a mirror circle. With this one I'm just cutting off the point here. It'll help it sit nice and close. That's your one flower. We can also, I'm just going to do like a little leaf. And that's one little flower. And right, let's start for a Frangipani. So with a Frangipani, I've got the same glass cut. So I've got the little 5 petals. These are slightly the wider ones. What I'm going to do with these to make a Frangipani is I'm actually going to take one of the tops up. I'm going to round the top of it. So just the same thing like we've done with those. Cutting across, but just softening that point. Now with the Frangipani, we are going to do a couple of little angle cuts. So same thing again, holding your cutters on an angle. And with these ones here, we're just going to take a scoop out the side. Scoop out the side. And what that does is it allows you to basically interlock that one into there. This one might not be so bad. This one here, scoop out the side. So just sort of play around with that shape. This one. Just trim a little bit off when you need to, or maybe take that bit there off. And if you want, if you take a little bit off the points here, just ever so slightly, you may be able to get a tiny little bit of colour in there. You might go with a bit of white. It's only a very tiny bit. That will just sit in nicely. And that is your Frangipani. Let's pop that one up there. Okay, now we've got a little sunflower. So just a center. Putting some little brown Smarties around here. So as you go wider in the center, you do need more petals. Same thing again, just take off one of the points at the bottom. This helps it to sit closer. And we'll do like a nice large leaf for the side. So same design as a little petal we've cut, just taking the two opposite corners off and softening those points. Right, they're just little very simple flowers to start with. So we might aim for some cherry blossoms now. So same thing again, we're just getting a little tile. Actually, I'll do some little blue ones. I know there's no blue cherry blossoms, but there is in my world. So let's have a look. So same thing again, cutting into half and then half again. So in half, and half again. Okay, and with these ones we're taking off the four corners just ever so slightly, so it's just a matter of nipping that off. And then just tidying up those little points. So cut us at an angle and just softening. Doesn't have to be perfect. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little tiny white piece for the center. So just a very tiny little square. Okay, so the four corners. So we're going to start with a little quirky flower now. These are called my jelly bean flowers. So I'm just coming in a little bit on the angle like this. And a little bit on that way there. So you end up with these little cuts like that. Same thing again, a little bit on an angle, so I'm leaving a little bit here. So just to show you a bit close up the cutter that I'm doing, it's just a little bit in here and a little bit in here. Right, I'm using a 20mm Smartie. And I'm just going to arrange these around the little Smartie. So by cutting them on an angle, it just helps them to wrap around quite nicely. But what we're going to do, we're going to jazz them up a wee bit. So I've got some mirror circles. I'm going to cut these in half.